Hey friends, hope you're having a blessed day. Welcome back.
Hello.
We were just talking about, I don't know if you guys all live in the Midwest or not, or obviously not all of you do, but we had quite a little winter storm. Wasn't as bad as it was predicted to be, but it was still fairly significant.
Yeah, it's like 5 to 7 inches. And we've been inside for the last couple of days, so I have not brushed my hair.
Yeah, we've a little stir
I
crazy.
mean, I showered, but I didn't brush my hair. You go stir crazy. I don't.
I go a little stir crazy when I'm stuck inside. I got outside a little bit today and did some stuff. But in any case, we're back.
So if you got snow with the storm, tell us how many inches you got where you live.
Yeah, they were predicting we were going to get like a ton, and we ended up getting about 5 or 7 inches.
Yeah,
total?
but they Brandon Beck said, that's our local meteorologist. He said, after 30 years, weather still humbles me, but he said the flakes were so small that they didn't really compact. And I even looked at the first sign of the snow and I said it to him and he was like, that's true. I was like, those snowflakes are very small. They almost look like ice pellets. Yeah. Because sometimes they're really beautiful and big and fluffy. Yeah. These weren't. But anyway.
It was more like a dusting is what we got. But it was a consistent dusting over a period of time. It still had significant accumulation, but not like we thought it was going to have.
It was close to 24 hours. So
yeah.
Yeah. So I have socks and slippers on because I'm cold because Mark doesn't let us have the heat on very high.
I get hot. Easy.
He gets hot and then he thinks, well, I mean, it's true. He runs all the time and then doesn't like the electric bill.
All right, moving right along. So for those of you who don't know us, I'm Mark. I'm a certified health coach. And this is Teresa. She's a board certified family nurse practitioner. We are with Total Health and Wellness, and we like to talk about hormones, metabolic health, and everything in between. Speaking of that, was great. The one good side of it is that Teresa's practice is we can work remotely.
Yeah.
So like during this whole winter storm thing, even though the town was shut down, our office was closed, Teresa was working from home and so was the staff. Yeah. And so, they see everybody via telehealth and then they, just kind of coordinate amongst themselves throughout the day. We just get the job done.
Yeah.
So we can
I text Janie to do some things. Angie texts me to do some things. So it all works.
It does. It really works. Okay. Quick housekeeping. Those of you on Facebook are probably wondering when we're doing our book giveaway. We did it for YouTube last week. So coming up next week, I'm not sure which day we'll do it, but next week we'll be giving away 2 copies of Doug Reynolds. So Doug Reynolds is the co-founder of LowCarb USA. And we'll be giving away 2 copies of his book, The Road to Metabolic Health. One of them will be an autographed copy. The other one won't be. So be on the lookout for that. We'll let you guys know when we're going to do it.
And, we had them, they came over, they visited us last September and they were on quite a few of the What's for Dinners. And he's an engineer. And then I don't know what Pam did before this, but they have spent a lot of their own money. Okay. And engineers don't care about feelings. They care about data.
Yeah.
Data. And so he has spent a lot of his hard-earned money, savings, and time trying to bring awareness to people, lay people, and physicians, providers with this Symposium for Metabolic Health.
Yes.
Practitioners. Yeah. I mean, they're just really, it's like a mission field for them.
100%. Yeah. And he really loves what he does and he really cares. He's one of those people who's just absolutely 100% vested in what he does. Yes. So, and they're just great people.
Well, and he used to be a runner, like a long distance runner. Yeah. And then him, like some of these other guys that were actually physicians, then suddenly figured out they're insulin resistant or pre-diabetic. And he was like, how's this possible?
Yeah.
So
right on. All right, so we'll be getting to that book giveaway sometime next week. So you guys are probably wondering what the title today is, what we're going to talk about. So tonight we're going to be talking about how seed oils are harming your metabolic health. So we've mentioned seed oils, industrial seed oils, many times, but we haven't gone into detail about it. So we thought tonight we'll do a actual like a focused kind of a video on seed oils as a standalone. So some of you may not know, but vegetable oil or industrial seed oil consumption is correlated with things like obesity, cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and much more. Mm-hmm. Now, correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation, okay? But we're highly suspicious that these seed oils are doing a lot of things. Now, on that side of things, that's going to be where Teresa is going to take over a little later in the video, and she's going to talk about some of the metabolic challenges and issues with consumption of industrial seed oils. What I want to do now, though, is talk to you a little bit about what industrial seed oils are, a little bit of the history behind them, and then just kind of get into how seed oil somehow became heart healthy. All right. So anyway, if you guys have coffee or tea or anything, sit back It's story time. All right. So first of all, seed oils are anything like palm oil, soybean oil, canola oil, which canola is what they call it. It's actually rapeseed, and for obviously reasons, they changed the name to canola to make it more attractive. Sunflower, peanut, cottonseed, corn, rice bran, safflower, and vegetable oil. All of those are industrial seed oils, and there's many more than that. That's just kind of touching on the surface. Okay, so how are seed oils made? Well, they start by heating the seeds, like the actual, like say we're talking about cottonseed oil. They take the cotton seeds and they heat them to an extremely high temperature. Okay, then after they heat them up to the high temperature, they process them using petroleum-based solvents. Okay, so after heating it up, they add petroleum to them, or a petroleum-based solvent to it. So they're already adding a chemical and a natural product to that seed oil. All right. Then they use another chemical to actually deodorize the oil that they're extracting, because the smell is putrid. It's disgusting. So if you ever have rancid oil, you'll know what we're talking about, because that process it's just gone bad again and stuff. And that's how it smells. It smells really bad. And then further, more chemicals are added to improve the color, because the color comes out really cloudy and kind of gross. It's not attractive. It's not something you're going to want to eat. So they add more chemicals on top of it to make it actually look edible. Okay. So let's talk about how this all came to be. Like, how did we start eating seed oil? So going back to the late 1800s, you had these two fellas. You've probably heard their last names before. One's last name was Proctor. The other one's last name was Gamble. So Procter and Gamble. These gentlemen were entrepreneurs, and they realized that they could start using vegetable oil in lieu of rendered pork fat in soaps. Okay. So vegetable oils were cheaper and easier to come by, and I'll explain why that is, okay? Around that same time in Pennsylvania, actual oil was discovered, so black oil, Texas tea.
Beverly Hillbillies.
The Beverly Hillbillies. I could have just gone right into that song right there. I'm not going to, though. For those of you guys who don't know that I just dated myself, the Beverly Hillbillies was a super cool show, even before my...
It started before our time.
It did. All right. So maybe I'm not that old. But anyway, they discovered oil in Pennsylvania, and so oil began getting used for fuel, especially in things like lighting. So think like lamps and things like that. And when that happened, they had been previously using cottonseed oil. Okay. And so the cottonseed oil now all of a sudden was obsolete. They're like, we don't have anything to do. It became a byproduct, industrial waste product. Okay. So they didn't have these companies that made the cottonseed oil. They didn't know what to do. Well, Procter and Gamble figured out that they could chemically alter the cottonseed oil using a process called hydrogenation, which you probably have heard of this, partially or fully hydrogenated vegetable oils, but they could hydrogenate the vegetable oil and make it look like, guess what? Lard. So it came out this white, pasty, fatty looking substance. And then guess what? Crisco was born. Okay. So voila, now we have Crisco, and a bunch of other different like vegetable oils followed suit shortly after that. Okay. So that is kind of a really short. Now there's a lot of other little side things that were going on at the time. That's a short and sweet on how industrial seed oils came to be. But then how did it end up that the industrial seed oils now, which were just chemical waste products, were all of a sudden not only entered into our food and used in our food supply, but how they were deemed heart healthy. Oh. So we talked about, I did this exact same thing when we talked about why breakfast is supposedly the most important meal of the day. Yeah. It's a lot of like chicanery and, clever marketing, money towards, different research institutes, things like that. There's a lot of shenanigans that go on. And that's what happened with this. So there was this entity that was formed by the U.S. government around the 1940s, and it was called the American Heart Association. It was a brand new entity. You guys know what I'm talking about. They had just come to be, and they were super small, didn't have a lot of big names that were working with them, and they didn't have any money.
And they probably were benevolent at the time.
They were probably okay at the time. So in order to get the American Heart Association on board with these seed oils, Procter & Gamble and some other companies along with them came, but Procter & Gamble and Crisco specifically donated $1.5 million back in 1940 to the American Heart Association. So naturally, the American Heart Association was like, yay, we'll take the 1.5 million and we'll be glad to endorse your product for you, okay? So that happened, and along the way, also, we had a gentleman by the name of Ansel Keys. So he had formed, some of you, I can't get into him right now because I could go on forever. That's a whole different rabbit hole. But he came up with this thing called the diet lipid hypothesis. It was essentially saying that animal fats, saturated animal fats that we've been eating since the beginning of time, were somehow causing you to have different problems with your heart through cholesterol, and it was all bad. And so what he did is he created this study, and the study basically said that that the vegetable oils were totally fine, but things like natural oils that came out of the foods, the meats and things like that, were not okay. And this was adopted. Like the American Heart Association was promoting this for years. However, that study that he came up with, and everything pretty much he did with regards to heart health and saturated fats and things like that, has been completely debunked. Yet we are still following, and we still have like traces of all of that false, all those false, what do you want to call them? Like implications, whatever you want to call them, like statements that are just still, they persevere today.
Right. And
so
they've shaped public opinion or, healthcare opinion and all that stuff.
Absolutely. So anyway, I just thought that I wanted to give you guys a little background on industrial seed oils, so you kind of knew what you were getting into. So in any case, and it's prevalent in everything. So if you pick up your favorite, salad dressing, or the oils that you buy for cooking, or you go to your favorite restaurant, you take these oils, and a lot of these, here's something else you got to be aware of, is not only are the oils prevalent in everything, but a lot of restaurants, especially the fast food ones and whatnot, are reusing the oil. Mm-hmm. So they'll use it for a batch of fries, then they'll use it for another batch of fries, then they'll use it for another batch. They'll add in chemicals and different things in it to help it last longer and keep it from smelling bad. But that heating and cooling process is causing more oxidative damage to that, and it's making a more toxic oil. Yep. So you got to be, my whole point with this, guys, is you got to be really careful about where you eat and what you're getting, what your foods are. And you need to familiarize yourselves with two things really on the nutrition labels. One of them is all the different names for sugars, because those are hidden everywhere. The other one is all the different names for industrial seed oils. All right. So that's enough for mine. I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Teresa.
Well, and I was just thinking, there was, we used to think this a few years ago. We haven't eaten there in a long time, but Buffalo Wild Wings, they fry their chicken wings and stuff in tallow. But there's been some people that have gone and asked to see the actual tallow that they're doing it in. And it is tallow, but it's deodorized and one other thing that makes it really gross. So no one really, I don't want to say always and never, but not many people are going to use tallow or bacon grease to fry your fries in at a restaurant and change it out every single time. Like, they're just not going to do that.
Yeah.
So
it's also price. These industrial seed oils are super cheap, and I think I might have touched on that a little bit. But in any case, they're super cheap, and so versus like ghee or tallow or lard or any of the actual real animal based ones, they're more expensive. So they're going to go. It's
all about money.
It's all about the bottom dollar. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and especially, I mean, if you look at 3 restaurants on your street and one French fries are $7 because they use the right ingredients, all the way down to like $1.10, you're going to go to the $1.10, especially if you don't know any better, because you want to save your money, So the seed oils, we've talked about this before, and I have said many times that it's probably even the industrial seed oils that is more problematic for our health than just the banana that I harp on you guys about, or your pasta. But the problem is, industrial seed oils is in every single thing. Like he was saying, every single dressing. If you're trying to eat keto or low carb and you want a salad, your dressings all have soybean oil and canola oil. Soybean oil is by far the most popular seed oil, but we have a problem with omega-6, which is seed oils, to omega-3, which is essential fatty acids. And the ratio, ancestrally speaking, used to be 1-to-1. Now it's more like 10-to-1, and in some places 20-to-1, depending on how you eat. So 10 to 20 of the bad omega-6 seed oil, and seed oils are hugely pro-inflammatory, to 1 omega-3 fatty acid or oil, and that is extremely anti-inflammatory. So when you're talking like that, 10 or 20 to 1, you can see where the inflammation comes. Now, we always say insulin also causes inflammation, but you have a lot of things going against you. You have cortisol because of sleep. You have cortisol because of stress. You have high inflammation because of seed oils. You have high inflammation because of high insulin because of sugar. So it's not just one thing, but you should be aware of it all. So anyway, the way we eat seed oils, and it's pretty much in every processed food, it creates a lot of inflammation. Yeah. And seed oils is the most significant contributor to the imbalance between omega-6 and omega-3.
Yeah. If I could interject too,
Mhm.
Tia brought up a really good point. She was talking about seasonings and having seed oils in them. And you think of seed oils, you wouldn't imagine that's going to be in like a powder or a rub or something like that. But it's a really good point because it actually is. So you don't think of it just being in
Liquid.
things that are liquid
Mhm.
or on your something you pour over your steak or something like
Right.
that. It can be in rubs. It can be in seasonings. It can be just it could be anywhere really.
And since I have notes I'm following, let's talk about what you should cook with: ghee, butter, tallow, bacon grease,
Lard,
lard,
yeah,
avocado oil,
duck fat.
ooh, duck fat,
Hmm.
olive oil. So olive oil is something that you should not heat at high heat. Avocado oil can, but butter and ghee and bacon grease and tallow, that all can be high heat.
Yeah, and when we're talking about oil too and heat, be careful with olive oil because olive oil is infamous for being. You need to find 100%
Oh
organic,
yeah,
extra virgin olive oil, and then still verify the label because a lot of olive oils actually are only about 20% actual
right.
olive oil. Then they're denatured by putting in all the other vegetable oils, and 80% of it made up of the olive oil is actually not olive oil; it's vegetable oil. So it's
So
crazy. It's
disgusting.
absolutely it's the
Makes me
just
so
you have
mad.
to really understand science almost to be able to tell what's in your food. It's a shame, but it is
Yeah.
what it is, guys. So we're trying to help you with that.
So, like he was saying, they're so terrible, the seed oils, they have to add additives to them, and they're
Mm.
endocrine disruptors. So, probably sometime late last year, we did the
Mm.
breast cancer and endocrine disruptors. And so, three of the things they add is BH, I can't read my writing,
BHT.
BHT, BH something else, and TBHQ, which is all the endocrine disruptors. And I really believe it wholeheartedly that most breast cancers, including other cancers. I just deal with breast cancer because that's what people are afraid of when they want to take
Yeah.
hormones. Breast cancer is environmental. So, and these seed oils are made from genetically modified plants. So that takes it up a whole nother level. Now you got genetic modified stuff in there, not just, regular seed oil stuff.
Yeah, with genetically modified, we don't really know much about them at all, good or bad. The people, Bayer Crop Science and Monsanto and all those folks that are actually making them, they know what these things can do to a human and what they don't do to humans and whatnot, but we don't
They
know.
don't release
They
the
don't
studies.
release the studies to us. We're not allowed to know. So the bottom line is that it's a crapshoot when you're eating a genetically modified food. So you have to get something that's GMO certified when you're eating it. So if you're going down and buying vegetables, if it's GMO certified, it's non-GMO, or if it's USDA certified organic, it's also non-GMO.
And be careful with the studies because there's
Mm.
studies like on cancer, but they don't study past 5 years because they know that's when the recurrence happens. They don't study vaccines more than 5 to 10 days because they know that's when things happen. And then they don't study GMO stuff past, I feel like it's 2 years.
Yeah, I don't remember. I have not been into the GMO stuff in
Yeah, I
quite
feel
some
like
time.
it's
Yeah,
2 years because they know that's when cancer starts.
yeah,
So if you read a study that says it's safe, you have to look into it, which they're not going to make easy.
yeah, for
So
sure.
so anyway, high omega 6 to high omega 6 to 3 ratio causes inflammation. And so we talk about this every single night. That is autoimmune disease, asthma, brain disorders like cognition and mental
Hmm.
health, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, IBS, inflammation, infertility, macular degeneration, osteoarthritis, and the list goes on and on and on.
It's a good thing you had notes. That's too much to remember.
It is a lot, but I mean, I say stuff like this all the time in the office. And I feel like sometimes it happens to us. You get overwhelmed at
Hmm.
the information. Like,
Yeah.
what do I change? And so I was thinking about this probably last week, and I'm going to give you 3 things that I feel like are easy to change. Number one, get vegetable oils out of your house. So, we have brownies and stuff like that in our house, which might shock you, but we have kids, and I like the kids hanging out at my house. So occasionally they will make brownies, and they use avocado oil. I don't have vegetable oil in my house. Number two, change from Tupperware or plastic storage containers to glass. And it costs money, but you just need to go out and buy different sizes and just start replacing those. That was one of the first things we did. We let the kids drink out of glass glasses when they were like 5 or 6. And I remember, and we lit our floor at that time had tile, and I was like, if they
Hmm.
drop that, it's like shards are going everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
They never did, thankfully, but that's something I think is easy to do. You can just go buy a cheap set of 16 glass glasses somewhere. And then the other thing is if a female that is still having their period, so whether that's your sister, daughter, wife, you need to buy organic tampons or pads if you don't use the little cups or whatever. because the pads and tampons are made with genetically modified cotton. And so you're absorbing in the mucous membrane of the vaginal tissue GMO stuff. So those are 3 places that you could start right now and change.
Yeah. And I think
because it can be overwhelming.
So most of that is from an endocrine disruptor standpoint,
Right.
then? Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Endocrine, and you're putting it right in the mucosal membrane. It's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, bad stuff. But the bottom line is, getting back to what Teresa was talking about, becoming overwhelmed. So, you have to start implementing one thing at a time. And I know, like Teresa said, it's overwhelming. So you've got to pick your battles and start fighting them, a little bit at a time. You don't want to overwhelm yourself by taking on too many things.
Yeah.
The big thing is taking that first step of faith, that big leap, out there. Once you get started, it's a snowball from there, especially with that first victory. Once you get, you get, say, the sugar thing conquered. You've been eating without sugar for several weeks. You're past all your little withdrawals that you're having. You're dialed in on, what you're supposed to be eating that doesn't have sugar in it. And then you can move on to the vegetable oils, or you can move on to, the endocrine disruptors or whatever. And then just keep, adding on and adding on. And eventually you're going to get a snowball effect, and things are going to become easier and easier. And instead of, looking in the rear view mirror, instead of looking in the front view mirror where you have to go, you're going to be looking at in the rear view mirror where you came from, what you just left.
So all that you accomplished.
Yeah, all that you did. So
sorry, there's 5 deer out there playing, and they're distracting me against their pretty snow. And sometimes I get like, so what, we know about this? So what? Like everyone else doesn't. Like, how do we help everyone, or what could be done? And so sometimes you got to reel yourself back in. Like, I can't worry about all that. I can worry about what's in my house.
And we just start planting seeds with people, like hopefully some of you guys were planting some seeds with, and then you guys can action on those. So
and the other thing is, the avocado oil that I have in the house is in a glass jar.
Yes.
So you don't want to buy in a plastic jar, because plastics are in our system. Like, it's so gross.
You buy the best organic, whatever it is, and then it's in a plastic thing. And it's just kind of, you're like, oh gosh, what are we doing here?
Right.
Anyway, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Okay, well, this is a great time. If you haven't done so, if you're new, please consider liking, subscribing. Any kind of interaction that you guys can do helps us out. Comments, I
did. I meant to say this, and I want to almost say this every time. We're not saying you have to do it our way. We're just saying this is how we do it. And this is the great improvements we've made in our lives, and this is one way to do it.
Yeah, this is a way, not the way. Right. It's a way to do it. So, all right, guys. Excuse me. Well, as always, we love you all
so much.
God bless you. We'll see you next time, and don't forget, food matters.
Bye.
Bye.